What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's Reviewed. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Prohibition Monte from Alan Rorrison. But before we jump into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And please ring the bell.
Prohibition Monte drastically enhances one of the world's most famous card swindles, giving it a truly impossible ending that will leave your audience running for the cops. Straight from the close-up act of prolific magic inventor and television consultant Alan Rorrison, Prohibition Monte is the perfect fusion of three of Magic's most amazing card routines: the Two Card Monte, the Anniversary Waltz, and the Torn and Restored card. I gotta say, man, this is actually a really cool gimmick. I really got a big kick out of the routine itself, and coming in at a $25 price point, this is actually a pretty good deal for what it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, obviously, with the amount that you get in the gimmick, you can use it over and over and over again.
Yeah, no, they really do a great job with this, and I think one of the really cool things about the whole premise of it, obviously, it's really beginner-oriented. It's a great card magic gimmick, and it ties on things that I think many beginner magicians already start looking into. So like they mentioned, you know, the Two Card Monte, the Anniversary Waltz, Torn and Restore. Those are all very visual card magic tricks that every beginner falls in love with, wants to learn. This really ties in so much fun and really ties it into a very interesting thematic aspect as well, the whole Prohibition 1920s vibe. I really enjoyed that aspect of the trick, though I will say I think the tutorial as a whole, you know, I feel like Steve's normally the one who will say this, it was a little bit long, all things considered. It came in at about 40 minutes, but for me, it felt like there was a lot of repetition that didn't necessarily need to be there, and I usually feel like I'm not the one who catches on that stuff, so...
Yeah, so I could tell that you wanted to talk about that, because I normally go over the tutorial stuff, so I think it's kind of cool that you, like, had to talk about it.
Was,
you know, but
yeah.
I totally agree. It was 40 minutes. It was long. It was definitely thorough, but repetitive.
Yes.
And I think they probably could have cut out 20, let's say 18 minutes of that, you know, whole tutorial,
yeah,
and would have made it a lot more enjoyable and easier to get through. But, you know, it was thorough. It was easy to follow, you know, if you do it in those sections. But so I think for a beginner, I think it's a great way to, you know, jump into card magic and learn those three big routines and kind of pack it into one routine. That part of it I thought was pretty cool.
Absolutely. I think one of the really cool things about it too, obviously being a playing card gimmick, the quality is great. They are playing cards. Obviously there will be a little wear and tear over time, but the quality of the cards themselves, they look great. They feel great in hand. The other really cool thing about it being based on the classic Two Card Monte, you really only need 2 cards for the routine, all things considered, which I think is great. And as you mentioned, you know, it really is a beginner-friendly gimmick. Not only is it beginner-friendly, but being built on 3 gimmicks that magicians really know and love, this is something that an intermediate or even a professional magician can easily add to their repertoire and even enhance out to themselves. You know, obviously the story behind it and the name, the Prohibition Monte, is very much built for the pattern and the story that presents with the routine that's included with the gimmick. But with that in mind, this is something that the underlying gimmick itself can be used in any story, any routine you want to build out around it. So someone who has a little bit more experience building out those routines may be more comfortable making this even more their own and fitting it into card routines they already have built into their repertoire there.
Yeah, and another good thing about it is you can only carry 2 cards in your wallet. You don't have to worry about having anything bulky in your pockets or anything, so it can be carried around all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, all things considered, this is a phenomenal gimmick for street magic, for close-up performance. There is that nice intimate connection, though I will say too, even with all that in mind, there is some aspect to this where you do have some angle sensitivity. Not so much for the routine itself necessarily if you handle things correctly, but a lot of times for kind of the closeout and cleanup of the routine itself, there's a little bit of angle sensitivity where you do want people's focus and attention in front of you. So it really makes it so that you need to be cognizant in a street or a close-up scenario that you don't have people completely circled around you.
Yeah, it's a good kind of step into that becoming comfortable and confident, you know, within that close-up of, you know, spectator and performing, you know. So it's something that definitely you can jump into and get away with some things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, The good thing about this routine, and I think one of the things that Alan really did a great job covering, is he touched on some points where you need to be careful about how you're handling the cards and things like that. But for the most part, there was a lot of forgiveness in the actions as well. And he talks about, how sometimes people don't notice this, even though it's there's a little bit of a disconnect there, that in these situations you really want to make sure that you hold the cards specifically in certain cases to avoid any sort of issue with the gimmick. So I like that he really touched on those things. Swinging back a little bit though to the length of the tutorial again though, the fact that the actual explanation portion of the tutorial took up 26 minutes time as well, which is a pretty significant
26 to 27.
Yeah, 26, 27 minutes. It was a pretty significant chunk of the tutorial itself. In consideration of that, the other thing that would easily help reduce the time was that he actually shows the full routine in the beginning, which I think is great, with a audience and everything. Worked out perfect. Goes into the tutorial, which he probably could have trimmed. But immediately after that, he actually shows a condensed version of the tutorial again as a recap that I think probably could have been completely tossed out there, because I think, one of the great things about video, you could easily scrub back and forth. There's no need to be like, oh man, I have to rewind my VHS, or no, I have to read the past 10 pages again. You literally just drag your mouse a little bit to the left, it goes back a few minutes, you rewatch what you missed, and you're good to go. And I think part of it with the tutorial as well, talking about, the user experience of a tutorial, I think people naturally do that while they're going through these tutorials for the first, second time anyway, because while they're watching through, they miss something and they immediately play back. Or, they want to get something a little bit better or see a different angle or whatever. You may rewatch the same part of a tutorial 3 or 4 times, and then 5-6 minutes later to have them fully recap the whole tutorial seems a little redundant.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I want to find out the history and story of the room that he filmed in. It fit the gimmick so well. I want to know more about this room they're in.
And honestly, I think they really, I wouldn't be surprised if they built it out for the filming of this, but at the same time too, I'm like, I know usually Magic productions are pretty low budget, so I can't imagine someone went out and bought a whole ton of books and a whiskey barrel and all these things to outfit this. So I'm wondering if they used some sort of like studio that already was pre-established like that, or who knows, it could be Alan's house. He said he loved that Prohibition era. That could be his like study or lounge in the house.
Yeah.
It was really well done. I have to say, I think, like I said, for a beginner-friendly gimmick that has a lot of variability in use case and is really lightweight and small, and a $25 price point, this is a great card gimmick. Probably one of the most fun card gimmicks thematically that we've seen in a long time. Even the tutorial, though long, really was thorough. So all across the board, I really enjoyed this Prohibition Monte.
Yeah, no, I agree.
For anyone out there, make sure to check out Prohibition Monte at your favorite Murphy's Magic retailer. And while you're at it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Peace.